Joanne Rowling was born on July 31, 1965, in Yate, a small town in Gloucestershire, England. Her father worked as an engineer for an aircraft company. Her mother was a science technician. From a very young age, Joanne displayed a strong interest in stories and writing. She often invented tales to entertain her younger sister. When Rowling was 6 years old, she wrote a rabbit story for her sick sister Diana. Diana was so captivated by the story that she forgot all her pain. Her childhood was comfortable in material terms, but it was shadowed by her mother's long struggle with multiple sclerosis. This is a debilitating disease. This experience introduced Joanne to sadness and uncertainty at an early age. She found a reliable escape and comfort in books. Her favorite authors included C.S. Lewis and Elizabeth Gouge. Jane Austen became a favorite later. She was a quiet, studious girl. She sometimes felt like an outsider. This is a feeling she would later give to her most famous character. She attended secondary school at Wydeen School. She later said she was neither particularly happy nor popular there. Academically, she did well, especially in English. After finishing school, she followed her parents' wishes. She studied French and classics at the University of Exeter. This course of study was practical. It was meant to lead to a good job as a bilingual secretary. Rowling has since said she spent more time reading in the library than attending lectures. A year of her studies was spent in Paris. This experience enriched her. After graduating in 1986, she moved to London. She worked in a series of office jobs, including at Amnesty International. She found the work boring, but she continued to write stories and ideas in notebooks during her lunch breaks and evenings. This period of her life was marked by a sense of drifting. She had not yet found her purpose. The pivotal moment arrived in 1990. It happened during a delayed train journey from Manchester to London. As she looked out the window at the countryside, the idea for Harry Potter simply fell into her head. She saw a skinny, black-haired, bespectacled boy. This boy did not know he was a wizard. The concept of a school for young witches and wizards came to her fully formed. She was thrilled. But she had no pen to write anything down. She spent the rest of the journey thinking intensely about the idea. Over the next few months, she began to plot the entire 7-book series. She filled notebooks with details. She wrote about the characters, the magical creatures, the history, and the rules of this alternate universe. She even wrote an extensive biography for the gamekeeper, Hagrid. Much of it would never appear in the books. This was a period of intense, joyful creativity. Tragedy struck later that same year. Her beloved mother, Anne, died from complications of multiple sclerosis. Rowling was devastated. She had never properly told her mother about Harry Potter. This became a source of deep regret. The loss profoundly shaped her and the story she was writing. Themes of loss, grief, and the longing for parents became central to the Harry Potter narrative. Seeking a change, she moved to Porto, Portugal, to teach English as a foreign language. There, she met and married a Portuguese television journalist. Their marriage, however, was brief and unhappy. It ended in 1993. Rowling returned to the United Kingdom with her infant daughter, Jessica. She also brought 3 completed chapters of her novel in a suitcase. She was 27 years old. She was a single mother. She was jobless. By her own description, she was as poor as it is possible to be in modern Britain without being homeless. She settled in Edinburgh to be near her sister. The next few years were the most difficult of her life. She lived in a small, unheated apartment. She survived on state benefits. She struggled with clinical depression. She felt a profound sense of failure. To make matters worse, she feared social services might take her daughter away because of her poverty. Yet, during this darkness, she clung to one goal, finishing the Harry Potter manuscript. It was her anchor. She would push Jessica's pram through the streets for miles to get her to sleep. Then she would head to a nearby cafe to write. She could not afford to heat her apartment. But she could buy a single cheap coffee. She could sit for hours in the warmth of the cafe. She wrote in longhand on notepads. This period required immense discipline. It required a stubborn belief in her story when no one else did. Completing the manuscript was only the first battle. The next was finding a publisher. Her agent sent the book to 12 major publishing houses. All 12 rejected it. The reasons varied. Some said it was too long. Others thought children would not be interested. Some found it too unusual. Finally, in 1996, the manuscript landed on the desk of a small London publisher called Bloomsbury. The chairman, Nigel Newton, gave it to his 8-year-old daughter, Alice. She read the first chapter immediately. She demanded the next. Her enthusiasm convinced Bloomsbury to take a chance. They offered a modest £1,500 advance. They also advised Rowling to use her initials. They feared that young boys might be reluctant to read a book written by a woman. She chose J.K. She added the K for Kathleen, her grandmother's name. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was published in June 1997. The initial print run was just 500 copies. The critical reception, however, was glowing. It won several important British awards for children's literature. Word of mouth began to spread. It spread first among children, then among adults. The magic was not just in the plot. It was in the richly detailed world. It was in the relatable characters. It was in the timeless themes of friendship, bravery, and the triumph of good over evil. Later that year, the American rights were sold at auction. They sold for an unprecedented $105,000. This was a clear sign that something extraordinary was happening. The book was retitled Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone for the U.S. market. Success arrived with stunning speed. The subsequent books were Chamber of Secrets, 1998, Prisoner of Azkaban, 1999, Goblet of Fire, 2000. Then came Order of the Phoenix, 2003, Half-Blood Prince, 2005, and Deathly Hallows, 2007. Each book shattered publishing records. They became global cultural events. Bookstores held midnight release parties. Fans dressed as their favorite characters. The series grew darker and more complex. It matured with its original readers. Rowling embraced her success. But she also faced intense pressure and scrutiny. Every detail of her personal life was reported. She remarried in 2001 to Dr. Neil Murray, a Scottish anaesthetist. She had 2 more children. She valued her family's privacy greatly. She moved to a secluded estate in Scotland to protect them. The book's success naturally led to film adaptations. The movie series was produced by Warner Brothers. It began in 2001 and concluded in 2011. It was a massive commercial and critical success. It brought the visual spectacle of the wizarding world to life. It introduced the story to an even wider audience. Rowling was closely involved in the filmmaking process. She ensured the spirit of her books was preserved. The franchise expanded to include theme parks. These are called the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. It included a critically acclaimed stage play. The play is Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. It also included a film series based on her companion textbook. The textbook is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. With immense wealth and influence, Rowling's focus shifted significantly toward philanthropy. She established the Volant Charitable Trust. It supports various causes. She founded Lumos, a charity named after the light-giving spell. It is dedicated to ending the institutionalization of children worldwide. Having experienced poverty herself, she has donated enormous sums. She supports organizations combating social inequality. She supports organizations supporting single parents. She funds multiple sclerosis research. In 2012, she was a leading donor to the creation of a new multiple sclerosis clinic in Edinburgh. Notably, she fell off the Forbes billionaires list. This was because she had given away so much money. Her philanthropy is a fundamental part of her identity. It is directly connected to the struggles of her past. After Harry Potter, Rowling deliberately sought new creative challenges. In 2012, she published The Casual Vacancy. It is a stark, realistic novel for adults. It is set in a small English town. It explores social tensions and political hypocrisy. It was a sharp departure from fantasy. It received mixed reviews. Wanting to write without the weight of her famous name, she began a crime series. She wrote under the pseudonym Robert Galbraith. The Cuckoo's Calling was published in 2013. It was well reviewed as a debut from an unknown author. When her identity was leaked, sales soared. But she continued the series. The series has grown in popularity and complexity. She has said she finds great freedom in writing these detective stories. In recent years, J.K. Rowling has become a figure of significant public controversy. This is due to her statements on gender identity. She has expressed views that emphasize biological sex. She has been critical of certain aspects of transgender activism. These views have led to fierce criticism. The criticism comes from many fans, LGBTQ+ organizations, and some actors from the Harry Potter films. Supporters argue she is defending women's rights and free speech. This debate has created a complex legacy. Her monumental creative achievement is now viewed by some through the lens of this divisive issue. It highlights the challenges of being a public intellectual in the social media age. Despite the controversies, the cultural impact of Harry Potter is undeniable and enduring. The series revived reading among young people. It created a global community of fans. It introduced a modern mythology. Its themes of love, tolerance, and the courage to fight tyranny remain deeply relevant. New generations continue to discover the books. This ensures their place in literary history. J.K. Rowling's story, in its entirety, is a powerful modern parable. It is a testament to the transformative power of imagination. It shows the human capacity for resilience. She turned personal despair into a universal story of hope. She went from a struggling single mother writing in a cafe. She became one of the most influential storytellers of her generation. Her journey reminds us that remarkable change is possible. Her legacy is a double-edged sword. On one side is the luminous, beloved world of Harry Potter. This world champions the underdog. On the other side is the complex, debated figure of the author herself. Ultimately, her life illustrates that stories have immense power. They have the power to comfort. They have the power to inspire. They have the power to provoke. And they have the power to endure long after they are written.